Hello. Hi. I'm Frank Lance, director of the NYU Game Center, and welcome to our annual student showcase for 2020, the year the world turned upside down. We have an amazing afternoon planned. You are going to see a whole bunch of incredible games, the projects of all the students graduating from our undergrad BFA program and our graduate MFA program. Now, 6 hours is a long time. There's a link to the schedule in the notes below the stream here. And you should feel free to dip in and out or just have this going in the background. You could think of it as a super cool online game festival. But let me tell you something. There are some things here that you are not going to want to miss. I mean, I know that I am biased, but holy cow, there's some amazing games on display. When we were at the very beginning of this terrible crisis, I told my students, this is the perfect excuse to not do any work at all, which kind of tells you what kind of college student I was, because that's immediately where my mind went. But it's true, right? You could just coast from here on out. Like, who's going to yell at you for phoning it in during the great pandemic? Did they? No, they did not. In fact, they did the opposite. Not only are the games that we're about to show the best work we've ever had come out of the program, but across the board, they speak to the present moment in a way that I could never have predicted and still find kind of magical. This work feels vivid and vibrant and urgent in a way that, I don't know, it makes me proud, not only for the Game Center community, but for our art form itself. I mean, these games, they demonstrate, they're living proof that games can resonate with a world turned upside down, a world in crisis, a world desperate to find new ways to make sense and connect when all the ordinary and familiar ways have disappeared. You're going to see games about economies and ecologies, about competition and cooperation, games about comfort and safety, and games about danger and risk. And you're going to see games that spin the wildest, weirdest, most imaginative fantasies right up against games that witness the stubborn truth of our immediate reality with the unflinching eye of documentary film. Games are having a moment right now. And that's an opportunity and also a responsibility. Because if games are going to help us make sense of this world that we now find ourselves in, then they really have their work cut out for them. But the good news is, as you're about to see, that there is a young generation of new game creators who are more than ready to do that job. So let's go. Where are we dropping? Naomi Clark. I would love to bring Naomi Clark out to the front of the stream if I could.
Hey.
Naomi is my colleague. Hello, Naomi. How are you?
Pretty good. Not doing too bad.
Naomi is one of the faculty here at the Game Center, and the entire stream today is the result of the entire faculty and staff of the Game Center working together. And Naomi has been serving a kind of showrunner, director role. So thank you for doing this. Naomi, now, you and I have our own show on Twitch, right? It's a part of the weekly Game Center Live.
Yeah, the discourse is what we've been calling it.
Where we would talk about the game news. What would we be talking about if we weren't doing this today?
Oh gosh, a lot of somewhat terrible things. I guess some of it having to do with this platform that we're on, Twitch, right? They just launched a safety advisory council that immediately resulted in one of the people on the council getting harassed to the extreme.
There's not like a patch for Animal Crossing that we would talk about, or
probably we would talk about whatever's going on in Animal Crossing. We would make fun of Google Stadia a little bit. We talk about
there you go.
Yeah, Stadia.
Animal Crossing, Stadia news, and meta rationality. Those are the topics that we cover.
Yeah, then we'd be like Unreal Engine 5, 33 million triangles.
Naomi, help me just quickly talk about the format of today's show. We're going to have 3 hours of BFA projects, and then starting at 5, we're going to start showing the MFA thesis projects, correct?
Yep, that's right. Each hour hosted by a different faculty member.
Good. And also, will there be special guests? Yes or no?
Yes, a lot of special guests. In fact, we should probably bring one on right now so that we don't run behind schedule.
Yeah, okay. Our first special guest is Austin Walker, the amazing Austin Walker, host of Friends at the Table and Waypoint Radio. And Austin is going to help me with this first segment. So please, Austin, come on out, if you will, and join us on the stream. Ladies and gentlemen, the
Hello.
amazing Austin Walker. Hello.
How are you doing? Nice to see you.
Good. How are you?
So glad to be here.
This is your territory, Austin. This is Twitch.
Yeah, I run this place.
Zoom, and that's where I feel comfortable. And
right.
now we're on your territory, so help me out. What do we do?
I think you say poggers a lot.
Pog champs.
Yeah, you put the pog champs in the chat. We have to earn it. You can't just ask for poggers. Asking for poggers is like giving yourself a nickname. It's not to be done.
Okay.
People just have to naturally do it. You know.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, let's try to keep it nice and friendly in the chat. How about that?
Yeah, actually, yes, please.
Shout out to the chat. All right, so Austin, let's just jump right into it. Right, we're gonna see a bunch of amazing games. Let's start with the very first one. It's called My Green Age from Team Scramp. So let's do that transition and bring on the first game.
Oh, we thought the trailer was going to play. I think at that point.
Yeah, the trailer's gonna go, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, play trailer.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Sydney. It's been around 6 months since you left. I'm calling you from a dome in West Virginia, actually. You told me in your note that when you woke up, I'd still be sitting on the couch. Well, I got a job. Out here, I sleep 1 month at a time. With nothing to do but plant. And I miss you. So, point is, if you want to act like you just signed up because of me to, spite me, delete that. That sucks.
I think that was a good start. You don't have to get it on the first try.
Okay, let's go again.
Don't beat yourself up over that.
Oh, hi. We knew there were going to be some bumps in the road. This is the first time we've done this. So, did people, if people in the chat can tell us if did they hear the trailer? Did they see and hear the trailer?
Yeah.
Give me a yes. Okay, good.
That was happening.
So that was the trailer for the first game we're going to talk about, My Green Age, which is a meditative ecology game about growing a forest over an abandoned highway and experiencing 10 years pass by in 120 days. So joining us to talk about this game is Team Scramp. That's Spencer Bernstein, Christian Weinschenk, Rowan Wood, Ajali Harrison, McKenna Flanagan, and Parker Crandall. Thank you very much for sharing this game with us. What's going on with My Green Age? What is this game all about?
Yeah, so this game is about Sydney, someone who gets this job to, help nature overtake this abandoned valley. And, you're going to get paid 10 years salary for 100 days of work. It's a pretty good gig, right? The maintenance that it requires is, about 1 day of work every month. So in between, you're going into cryo sleep. And, the question we asked ourselves in writing it was, what kind of person would, take this job and just let 10 years pass by, you know? What are their relationships like? And so it's the sort of meditative simulation game where you grow and experience this narrative play out. We're going for kind of like a, listening to a podcast where you play Tetris on the subway kind of
Nice.
feeling.
Is there a definitive answer for what type of person? Are we learning about Sydney's life and the people, in her life, or is it a little more ambiguous than that?
Yeah, so I mean, we wanted to ground it and go for this like melodrama and this really personal story. So it plays out through Sydney having conversations with the AI assistant, who's part job trainer, part cognitive behavioral therapist, helping you to deal with the isolation and keep planting.
Now, I remember playing an early version of this prototype when it was 2D, and you
Yes.
had very
Yeah.
complex interactions between the different plants. When you made the transition to 3D, do you still have those kinds of like really subtle, complicated ecological interactions?
Yeah, so I distinctly remember you telling us that we should not make this 3D. Like it was so complex, it should stay 2D. And I think our whole thing was that it was too complex for us to be in 2D. Like we needed this like sense of three-dimensional space with like the height of the plants to actually see these systems. And there are a lot of like these complex systems inside of the game because you're trying to reforest this like dead ecosystem. And so it's kind of like you're going through like the process of like how a real forest might grow after a fire, where you have to lay the ground with these simple plants so that they can rejuvenate the soil to have bigger and bigger plants. So ultimately the goal is you create this like forest with all these trees from this barren wasteland.
What kind of inspirations were you looking at when you were making this game? Where were you drawing from?
So there's a lot of scientific concepts. Really drawn to this this thing rewilding, which is something that in the future and in our game is going to be funded by like a carbon tax and would help to grow trees to create oxygen and help mitigate climate change in some way, kind of strengthen our ecosystems. Also, this idea of deep adaptation, which is a fantastic paper that we read that sort of talks about how anticipating like societal collapse due to climate change. What is really important to us? What are we going to prioritize in our lives? What are we going to give up? What are we going to take from the past of human civilization to move forward?
I'm sure you didn't know what was coming when you were deep in dev for this, but I have to ask, how does it feel to make a game about isolation in this moment? Are there things that you've learned over the past few months that you wish you'd known in the middle of development in terms of human needs or interests in a time of intense isolation?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely struck us that it was a little bit convenient for us, but it's developed, like it's really helped our process in writing. I'm actually here with our lead actor. You can wave.
Should I pop
yeah,
in?
pop
Can
in
I
and
wave?
wave a hi. This
Hello.
is Aaron Dugan, who
Hi.
plays Sydney. And we've been doing these sessions where we're all on a Zoom call recording. Aaron and Mead Morrison, who plays the Dome, in different places, and that isolation. I think they're bringing it in the performances.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
It's
a lot of fun. We have a cool setup. It's a table with a blanket on it.
We should wrap it up, but before we go, I just wanted to ask about the music. The music is beautiful. It's haunting. It's quiet. It's this ambient. It's like grows. I don't know if it's responsive with the organic plants and stuff, but I found it really, really moving. Can you just tell us about where that comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a piece that I made, but we actually have a ton of musicians, great friends of ours, working on the game. Sort of, it's a pretty simple generative music system. There's a backing track, and then each plant that you make creates a spatialized sort of note. So as you walk around and plant, you get this 3D space, and then as you uncover more areas of the map, you're getting different soundscapes all along this kind of ambient new age line.
Yeah, and it really works. I was playing the actual game, and it really works. It's haunting. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, My Green Age, Team Scramp. Thanks, beautiful.
Congrats,
kicking us
it's
off
great.
in style.
I'm so glad you like the 3D version.
It is. Listen to me. This is what I tell my students. Like, never listen to me. I never have good advice.
There we
It's
go.
always our goal to prove you wrong.
Just do something. Just make a game. That's my main lesson. Thank you so much, guys. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That ruled, Frank.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway. My takeaway is I'm mad that you get to play this and I have to wait.
Oh, it's so good.
You just sneak me that build. Just send me that build over.
It's really good. It's like it's like Firewatch where you are making the forest. It's
Love
like
it. Oh wow. Look at that log line you just gave them. You just sold at least 300 copies of that game.
I'm not good at knowing whether a game should be in 3D, but I'm good at taglines.
But you're good at taglines. What's up next?
What's game that we're about to see is Arena 3000 by Koken Ishii. So we can go ahead and make that transition.
There is an.
All right. Welcome, Koken Ishii, to the stream.
Hello.
Hi.
Arena 3000. Koken, tell us what's going on in this game. What is happening? There's ragdolls, there's bugs, there's hacking, there's lasers. What's going on? How does it work?
So it all started with this. It all started with this idea of a ragdoll, active ragdoll in game. So like inspired by a game like Game Beast and Human Fall Flat.
Sure.
And then I kind of play around with this idea of, having like body parts around the floor and then breakable joints. So at first, it almost feels like an obstacle course. So it's something like you will see on reality TV show where you just kind of, sometimes you get hit by a moving platform, something like that. And then I realized that I want more stuff like a more like kind of aggressive and direct interaction. So I kind of put in the bullets. So after I put in the bullets, it almost feel like kind of it's like a mixture of a funny ragdoll game and then like something like a tight-paced action game. So
right.
kind of like put these two together.
So like, let me just as far as I can understand, everyone playing is playing as one of these bugs, and then you take over these humanoid bodies.
Yes.
Is there one? How many humanoid bodies? There's multiple humanoid bodies because I saw them smashing
Multiple.
against each other. Yeah.
Yes.
I love this because I feel like going back or whatever 13, 14, 15 years to something like Sumatori Dreams, there was a certain this sort of like dynamic real-time animation stuff was often not without aesthetic, but the aesthetic was like a secondary. And even through Gang Beast, which I think has a really great look, there's not really that underlying like push of bringing the player into a space, bring the player into a kind of a sensation. And this has such a strong sense of style. What were you pulling on to get this kind of synthwave retro, cyberpunk vibe?
Yeah. Thank you for like acknowledging that. Like, yes. So I'm personally, I really like this kind of aesthetic, like synthwave, and it's huge, like largely inspired by Tron. And so yeah, I was thinking about bringing the players into this cyberspace. Like I kind of like define the space, and also like the spiders. So the spiders, like I kind of added them in like in last minute, like right before the deadline. But yeah, but kind of because right before the deadline, I figured out when you have this like breakable joints with the ragdoll things going on, it's really easy to kind of like your game experience is kind of ruined if your body is like broken. Like if you're losing an arm or losing a leg, like it will be kind of difficult for you to carry on. So I was trying to design something like for a comeback. And then I suddenly realized, if this happens in a cyberspace, maybe you are, tiny little bugs that are trying to hack the robots and then taking control of the robot body and then smashing each other. And then you can escape when the body is broken. So yeah, and then somehow it just comes all together.
The funny thing for me is that now we live in cyberspace, and it turns out that it's not gleaming neon canyons of data.
Yeah.
Endless Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
So when I look at the game, I feel a nostalgia for a future that
never came. Yeah.
That never came. Yeah.
But I love it, and it's fantastic, and it's just oozing with style.
Yes.
So thank you, Koken. Beautiful job.
Thank you.
And thanks for showing it to us.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you guys.
Awesome. Also, I want to mention, I saw someone in the chat talking about the music that's playing in the transitions. We have some amazing music during the stream today. You are going to be hearing exclusive unreleased tracks from the forthcoming BAFTA-winning Ape Out OST.
Oh,
so
hell yeah.
When you hear songs that sound like Gene Krupa having sex with a neural net, that is Matt Bach and this amazing Ape Out soundtrack. So enjoyed that. There's also going to be amazing music from Greg Heffernan, who also goes by the name of Archipelago. So if you hear kind of like funky, a little bit swampy, kind of jazzy post-rock, that's probably Archipelago. Both amazing. Thank you very much for that music, folks. Next up, we have Liveville, The 11th Hour. So with Sam Grant and Oscar Young. So let's go ahead and check out that trailer. All right. So welcome Sam Grant and Oscar Young to the stream. Tell us what's going on in Liveville, the 11th hour. What's up with this game? Sam?
So our game here is kind of an interesting take on gacha games. At least that's where the inspiration came from. Where we wanted to take that kind of like play with what you're dealt luck that comes with a lot of gacha games and turn it into something that like players are really forced to derive a strategy from. So we have a strategy game kind of similar to, say, like Into the Breach, or kind of inspired by like the old Game Boy Fire Emblem titles, but with weaponry that is given to you based on random gun generation with like different mods and stuff to make the weapons capable of different things. And then you have to make strategies based on what you get.
One of my favorite feelings in a video game, I always use this analogy if you've seen the movie Memento. It's about a character who has no short-term memory. There's a sequence in that movie where a character is running and there's another person running through a kind of parking lot, and he looks over and goes, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? All right, I'm chasing this guy. And then he goes, beat, beat, beat. Oh, wait, no, he's chasing me. That feeling is one of my favorite feelings in a video game. The feeling of, all right, what am I doing? What do I have to play with here? What is the developer, or what does the system want me to do? How am I supposed to interact with it? And this seems like that is one of the core experiences that you're trying to nail down here. Here are some tools. Figure out how to use them. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When I was trying to generate random weapons, I kept getting health pots. Is that because I didn't have the right materials? Why was I making lots of health pots?
Right.
I wanted a big weapon.
So how that system works is that I took inspiration from a game called Girls Frontline, where you have 4 different resources and you input them into, I guess, the generator. And depending on what you put in and a little dose of RNG, you can come out with something different. That goes for every single type of gun in the game, and then also items. If you don't put the correct ratios in, or if whatever you put in doesn't create a gun, it'll just give you a potion. Which is
bad
useful.
Gun alchemist is what you're saying. Is that Frank does not have his gun alchemy gun? Yeah, get good, Frank.
Do a little bit of math for us. How many possible different items are there in this?
Oh no!
There's a good I want to say 30 or 40 mods, something close to that.
40 mods. There are 4 rarities.
You can get different amounts of mods on guns.
Yep.
I'm gonna say
variants within the damage, the range.
It's probably somewhere within high thousands, just because of how much variance there is in stats.
I would say go to hundreds. So.
Here's my last question. And I want Austin to be the judge of your answer to this. So, what is the best tactics game?
Best tactics game
in history. Best.
Right, now I'm okay.
I'm a big fan of Codename Steam. I think that one actually gave me a lot the inspiration.
This is a nightmare.
Tactics.
Okay. I think there's a right answer to this, but I want to see what Austin has to say.
The only reason I'm laughing at this is the Codename Steam was the hardest game review I ever had to do because of how bad how much I disliked that game as a long-term Valkyria. I'm not listening to each their own. It just you picked the one that I think it ended up a 3.7 or something like that, a 3 or.
Oh well.
Taste is like this, though. That's a better answer for someone who wants to make a game than if you just said, oh, well, obviously it's the most popular one. I'd so much rather play a game from someone who loves a tactics game I don't like than one that's just from someone who says, Austin, your taste is correct. So
this game is exactly what I want from a tactics game. What you guys made is
the answer is Invisible Ink. Also,
it's got player creativity. It's got open-ended combinatory explosions. I love it. Thank you for sharing it with us. You guys rock, and thanks for and congratulations on graduating and being professional game designers now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. All right. So
I feel bad now. I should not have dunked.
No, that's good. It's good. It's fun. This is the kind of suffering and pain that they need to.
Wow, the slings and arrows of games criticism come right for you by saying your inspiration is wrong. I just want to reiterate: Invisible Ink is my favorite tactics game.
So. Oh, there we go! Boom! I knew it.
There you
go. Invisible Ink. Shout out to Invisible Ink. All right, the next game is Multi-Puck. And I don't think we even need to set it up. I think we could go right there and just play the trailer. Multi-puck.
Welcome to Multi-Puck.
All right. Welcome, Martin Nayeri, to the stream. That was Multi-Puck. Gorgeous trailer.
Thank you.
And now are we going to listen to this part of it?
I mean, building segment.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to. It just explains the game.
Let's listen to this part of it. Let's. Yeah, chat. Can you hear this? Okay, we'll be quiet.
Maintain their social connections with each other far from Earth. After 20 years of floating in space, it has finally been brought home by Andrew R. Morgan on April 17th, 2020.
NASA astronaut Andrew Morgan, reclining in his chair, regaining that equilibrium.
The basics of Multi-Puck. Move your character with the left joystick. Collect the puck by colliding with it. The reticle will appear when you are holding a puck. If you collide with any additional pucks while holding one, they will enter your orbit. Press A to directional shoot. If you have any pucks in your orbit, one will then replace the puck you just shot. If you are not holding a puck, press A and it will dash. Colliding with an opponent at high velocity can cause them to drop their puck. The right and left bumpers control your goalie flaps. The goal of Multi-Puck is to score the most points over the course of 3 periods. Hitting the puck off bumpers converts them to your color. When a puck hits a bumper of your color, it adds points directly to your score. Any points added to a player's score also get added to a shared pot, which is cashed in by scoring on the opposing player's goal. After being scored on, you have the opportunity to launch a new puck back into the game. Thank you for your time. That's all I got. Hope you learned something, or not. LOL.
That's it.
So, you had your ship's AI explain the game to us. So you don't need to explain how the game works. But maybe you could just tell us a little bit, Martin Nayeri, maybe you could tell us a little bit about where this game comes from. Like, what are the inspirations you're drawing from here?
Well, the original idea was like, in my head, I had this great idea. It's like, okay, it's like competitive pinball inside a hockey rink, or like hockey inside a pinball machine, kind of, where it's like there are multiple ways to get points. And that's like where the design started. And then alongside that, I was trying to figure out like what concept, like visual or what like conceptual aesthetic it could fit into. And we had a bunch of conversations about it. And it was your idea to have this thing be part of the spaceship. And then like I just took that as far as I possibly could with this trailer and stuff.
All the way.
Yeah.
I always say that there is the way I can tell that I'm excited about an action game or a competitive game, anything that has like this style of like dynamic direct control is when I see something in a trailer that makes me go like, I want to do that right now. I want to do that. And in this trailer, it's the moment that you do the dash into the opponent and knock the puck away from them. And like that is, there's a lot about this trailer that's really clean and polished and strong, but that like verb is so tight. It's just so like, yes, you have a dash when you don't have a puck. And if you dash at high speed into your opponent, it knocks their puck away. Let me do that right this moment, please.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, again, we have another trailer with awesome music, and it was like woven into the action in a way that makes me feel like you made this music. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I did all the music and all the sound design for the trailer. There's a song in the middle that's a song of mine that I'm working on, and then all of the other sound effects were like I scored it by hand. So yeah, it was a arduous process to say the least.
Stanley Kubrick meets jock jams.
Yep.
Is a phrase that comes to mind.
Jock jams, yeah, whatever that means. Yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
Incredible.
And what's next for this game? Is this you gonna publish this game on Steam?
It should be live on itch by the end of the day. I'm having an issue with Player 2 on Windows, like the controller support's not working, so I gotta solve that. But it should be live relatively soon on itch, and I'm not gonna put it on Steam yet because I don't think it's ready. But yeah, anyway, it's ready to go.
Amazing, beautiful work, Martin. Thank you
so much.
Congrats, nice to meet you.
Thank you,
buddy. All right, so next up, we're going to take a look at Portal Panic, which is a procedurally generated dungeon crawler for 4 players. So that's coming up now.
All right.
All right. Welcome to the stream, Cyrus Rosenberg, creator of Portal Panic. Cyrus, tell us a little bit about what's going on in this game.
So it was really important to me when designing a capstone to kind of build from what I loved. And I always thought there was more to do with very classic, very fully built out arcade games, because I think as games sort of evolve beyond them, we kind of lost our use for them. However, there are certain modern game design techniques that can apply to these games. So I stand here next to the fully built out product, and Portal Panic is a very simple game, very designed after the classic Pac-Mans and Simpsons arcade game, X-Men arcade game, but designed around the simple goal of bringing a coin to a portal is all of these elements of procedural generation built in. And what that allows for is a kind of turn on the original idea behind arcade games, which is, I would venture to say that to them, memorization equals mastery. If you get the Pac-Man maze right, you've gotten it and you can master it. However, that doesn't necessarily rely on the individual strengths of its mechanics. So as a result of that, when I employ procedural generation, by mastering the mechanics in this game, you'll be constantly thrown into new situations to truly tell if you actually have the skill you say you do in a social environment.
Which is why there is a Portal Panic and not a portal mastery, right? Like you will always still be adjusting, always still be trying to use the skills you've developed. That's great.
It's sort of like the way that people talk about chess and the idea of Fisher random as a way of introducing the best part of chess, which isn't the memorization, but it is the kind of improvisational problem solving.
Exactly.
Cyrus, you built this thing? So this is an actual working arcade machine of Portal Panic?
Yes, this is an actual 4-player arcade cabinet that I built using an amalgamation of arcade kits and originally built parts. And it got to the point in the capstone, whereas as a result of this epidemic, I wasn't actually sure it was going to be built. But at a certain point, it was designed to be a built-out experience. And I think it ultimately shows a lot better when you understand that when it comes to multiplayer arcade games, communication is key. And nothing will match being next to your friends, having an understanding of how the maze changes.
So Cyrus, do you see this game as part of the what's sometimes called the new arcade movement? We got Killer Queen and games like that kind of reinventing the arcade experience. Is that the tradition you see yourself as part of?
Very much so. So actually a huge inspiration to this game was the bar in Brooklyn, Wonderville, which has a whole slew of arcade games, of course, made a lot by also NYU people. And after seeing that, it really inspired me to delve into this scene in my own way.
Yeah, there's something really special about co-presence, having someone physically move the same piece of machinery that you're on, that like feeling the pressure of someone else hitting a button is one of the reasons why I wish arcades had not gone by the wayside, because I think that there's something not lost, but there's something distinct about that experience. And I could see that being special here, especially again with something that is so procedurally generated. There will literally, you as a player against another player will be feeling different taps every time across the board, if that makes sense. And that seems really special and really like takes advantage of that co-presence.
Yeah, you know what I mean, Austin, about these games like weirdly connecting to the world that we're in. It's like, I'm not imagining that, right?
No, there's a through line.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's partly just that it's a frame that I'm bringing to it, but I keep seeing these ways in which this work is like making sense of this.
Our crisis is an extension of logics that were already at work, and so of course great thinkers and designers who are already aware of those logics, playing with those logics, will have already addressed them even before the crisis has consumed us.
Yeah.
Cyrus,
Cyrus,
obviously.
Beautiful work, man. Thank you for showing it to us.
Oh,
that's awesome. And congratulations on graduating.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, Austin.
Yes.
Is a game that I like a lot.
Yeah, you specifically.
Oh My Trump Dono.
Yes, I'm very ready.
By Varsha Prem. And so I think this one doesn't have a trailer. I think we're just going to bring Varsha onto the stream and maybe play through a little bit of Oh My Trump Dono live. Is that the plan?
Love it. I love to do I love to do a let's play live.
Let's do a little let's play of Oh My Trump Dono by Varsha Prem. So. All right, welcome Varsha Prem to the stream, and you are going to show us your game, Oh My Trump Dono, which set it up for us a little bit, and then Austin and I think are going to play it live.
Well, hey everyone, amidst all these beautiful games with really profound meanings is my PowerPoint game about the Trump administration. I kind of set out to make, I guess I would say, the most like cursed thing possible. And I really hope that that's what I've achieved here. So with that in mind, my game is about the Trump administration, obviously. And it's about this guy named Chad, who's a recent high school grad who gets an internship at the White House. And, from the outside, it looks to be really chaotic, but from the inside, it's just Lovecraftian levels of horror. So horror all around. Yeah.
All right, so let's play through. So now, Varsha, you described this as a boys' love novel. Is that accurate?
Yes,
okay.
It's like styled like a boys' love game. It's not. It's kind of like a fake boys. It's more of a political satire kind of masquerading as a BL game. I wanted to
There's
So
like the
let's
genre
click through.
conventions are here. The genre conventions are here. Here is our incredible himbo protagonist, Chad,
Yes.
who is going to be surrounded momentarily. I'll be honest, I peeked ahead. I played the demo last night. I was so enraptured by it. I went through the whole thing.
Thank you.
Surrounded by the best and brightest of the GOP. Here, stumbling into a position like in many otome games or specifically a lot of boys loves games where he is somehow like the pivot point of so many things around him. So many people have to rely on him. So I think you play with that stuff, but it is also very clearly a satire of the current administration and everything that that those folks believe, which is really sharp.
Let's click through. Let's
just keep clicking. Let's just go.
Keep clicking.
Chad is listening.
There are some choice points here, but it's not really about. It's not Sid Meier. We're not exploring a world of interesting choices. We're experiencing an intense story. A story of Chadwick, I believe is his full name.
Yes, Chadrick, brilliant intern from Cleveland, who Ubers down.
Whose mom Karen bought him an Uber to DC. Incredible.
Right. So hell yes,
Yeah.
I think is the answer we want.
He had to protect his Yeezys. They're very delicate. So
of course.
Now again, I'm going to say you started making this game long before COVID-19, and yet the first thing that happens in this game is you're listening to "Mask Off" by Future. Right?
Wow.
Is that, like what? Like.
And not just you're listening to, but specifically Chadrick, who would certainly be opposed to wearing a mask. That's my read on him. Especially if I'm wrong, has made the driver listen to it for 6 hours straight.
Yeah.
His ideology is clear.
But I remember you put that song was in there like early, 8 months ago, right? I mean,
yeah, it's actually been in there for longer than that. It's like incredible, like prophetic almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's quickly let's burn through some of these screens so we can get to some of the
we have to see at least one of the Randys.
Text.
We have to see
text is good, but I want people to see what happens inside the White House.
I think the other like obvious overlap here is the idea that there is this secret secretary of accountability, which in this moment in time would be great if there had ever really been someone like that.
And really not great if it was Chad.
It would be bad if it was Chad. You're right, obviously. But
now the thing I want to highlight here, as we continue to kind of click through this, you built this game in PowerPoint. Is that correct?
It's PowerPoint. That is correct. That was, I didn't really set out to make a PowerPoint game. I made this demo and I just made a really short piece of it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to make a beautiful like mobile visual novel. But the more I made it in PowerPoint, the more I'm like, yeah, this is it. Because it was just like extra, like low production value, which is the kind of aesthetic I was going for here. It was just like total trash. Actually, it was super difficult to make it in PowerPoint. I had to, because you cannot branch very easily. Like there's no variables, there's no anything like that. So every time it branches, there's the exact like 100 slides of content, but
that's why I'm on like slide
different.
782 or whatever, is because it's okay. That makes sense.
It turns out that making cursed trash is actually really hard. Once you commit to it, it actually, and it's, I'm going to tell you something, having played through this game, there's a lot of craft in this game. I would say, especially in the writing, there's actually some tenderness in the writing. I know that it starts out as this kind of frenzied, meme explosion. But by the time you start having these conversations, occasionally there are moments of sincerity. Am I imagining that, or is that true, Varsha?
Well, it definitely came from a place of like both horror and desperation, and also like wanting a sort of catharsis and to feel like an emotional connection to something. So not wholly an accident, but definitely mostly just dumb jokes.
Yeah. Listen, anytime, I think it's an achievement that in 2020 you, however briefly, made Paul Ryan the most reasonable character on screen for a split second, which that's an achievement because of who he is. And
kind of hunky.
I wasn't going to say it, Frank.
All right. Well, listen, we should move on to the next game. Varsha, thank you so much, and congratulations on making an amazing PowerPoint game about boys' love in the White House.
Yes, my lineage may be cursed because I made
People
this
can
game, but I hope
play
you
this right
have
now,
fun.
right? Can
Yeah,
people go play
go
this?
play it.
Yes, but actually my demo is slightly broken, so please check back in the next few days for the
Okay.
full thing.
Good. Play it
Perfect.
soon. Thank you, Varsha. Oh,
I love people in the chat immediately. Someone was like, "Well, how many slides is it?" It's still
like 1,000.
video games. Video
It's like
games still.
1,000.
We got to know how long it is. How long to beat?
it's seriously, it's like 1,000 slides. I think it's like
Yeah.
800 or
I
something.
got to like 789 in this
it's
demo. So yeah.
All right, our next game we're going to look at is Birds Encircled Flight by Emma Stone and Oliver Howell. So let's go ahead and transition into that. Beautiful.
Amazing.
Welcome, Emma Stone and Oliver Howell, to the stream.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about what's going on in Birds Encircled Flight. Where is this game coming from, and what are you doing with it?
Well, it began as actually like an idea that was born from a D&D campaign that Emma ran. One of the main characters in the game, Trevor, was my player character in that. And after that campaign wrapped up, we realized that the two characters that we had, Havari and Trevor, were just like too interesting and like too precious to us to like let go of. And so we're like, well, let's make a game about them.
Nice.
Amazing. And so it looks to me like it's kind of a point and click adventure vibe, narrative heavy. I think a lot of these spaces look really cool. It's a very melancholy feeling game. I think partially because of the soundtrack again, which I'm curious. I'm going to steal this question from Frank this time. Tell me about the music in this game. I don't know if either of you made it or if someone else did.
Yeah, so that was from the artist Radical Face. He has an album called Missing Film that's royalty free for personal projects.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were really excited that there was actually a royalty free album by him because he has a song that was very instrumental in creating both of these characters, Bad Blood, from one of his family tree albums. So it was like a really cool way to tie that in to the game.
I love how this game feels like it's built around these gorgeous set pieces that almost feel like panels from a graphic novel. And I know that you work as an illustrator. Was that one of the ways that you built this game in the process? Was it to start with these kind of beautiful scenes and then work outward from that?
Yeah, I think so. Emma, if you wanna...
Yeah. We both collaborated on the different backgrounds, and because the first setting is a small town in the South, we really wanted it to feel isolated and kind of contrast these beautiful orange sunset colors with a very solemn atmosphere. So we collaborated on the design of the backgrounds, and Oliver did a lot of the coloring, and I did a lot of the atmosphere and lighting.
Why a Chevy Camaro? What's going on there? Why is the car a Camaro? That little bit of specific, I kind of love it. Where's the Camaro coming from?
Well,
I think in the script, the car is 3 different kinds of cars at a certain point, because we don't know much about cars.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
We eventually settled on one that just felt like a car that 2 people would steal from a billionaire, which is how they got it, and how they'd really just enjoy a car that looks like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I'm not a big car guy, but I do like a Chevy Camaro. So I'm happy
Fair.
with-
I'm curious, having done this now, do you feel like you have the closure for those characters from your campaign, or do you think there's still an open book here yet to be written?
I think it's interesting because, like, as we've been working on this game, like, I was almost worried about becoming tired of the characters because we would spend so much time with them, that like we would get like bored of them. But actually it's like it makes me feel like even closer to them, especially like spending so much time with these characters like in the world as it is now. Like it's comforting to be with them even more. So it's like you keep wanting to explore their story more and more.
Beautiful. Well, this game is amazing. Can people go play it right now?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Good. Go play this game right now. It's gorgeous. Thank you so much for showing it to us, Emma and Oliver, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Wow.
Amazing.
That blew by, Frank. The
did.
pace of this
Thank
hour
you.
of just like cool game after cool game has been great.
That's the end of our segment. I kind of want to keep going. I want to, but I will be around. I'll be in the backstage area. I'll be in the chat. We have so much more coming up. We've got more great BFA games starting at 5 p.m. We're going to have the MFA thesis projects. It's going to be amazing. Music from Matt Bach from the Ape Out soundtrack and Greg Heffernan. We've got world-class trivia. I've been hearing a lot of buzz about this trivia. People say, oh, it's the hardest video game trivia. The folks from USC aren't going to be good at it. I said, stop. It's not about that. There's no rivalry between us and USC. It's just love, right? whether they're good at trivia or not, I don't think this doesn't matter.
I've heard you say there's no rivalry between you two so many times that I'm
Maybe
starting
they're
to
not good
doubt.
at trivia. Maybe they're good at other things, Austin.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Maybe they're good at other things. I think that's it from us. How are we? I mean, I don't know.
Thanks for having me on, Frank. A blast. Congrats to all the graduates. I can't wait to see what everyone here does.
I love hanging out with you. How do we not
too.
have a podcast?
Why don't we just do this? We could just do this whenever.
This is it. We have to do this on a regular basis.
It's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on again. Thank you to everybody who came. Stick around, I guess. Right? There's more amazing things to come.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Austin, and thanks everybody watching. And we're going to transition to the next segment. Please stick around and have fun. All right.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this stream, and welcome if you're just joining us now. Ah, okay. What a metaphor. Okay, am I on now? Hopefully I'm on. So thanks to Ian Bogast for that welcome message. I think we clashed a little bit there. So hi, welcome to the stream. So we're going to see some more amazing games from our wonderful cohort of students. So I'm Mitu Kandekar. I'm a member of faculty here at the NYU Game Center. I'm also one of the founders of Glow Up Games, which is a New York-based studio changing the landscape for diverse storytelling in games. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. Look at some more games. I'm also just so honored to be joined today by Aurea Harvey, who is our very special guest for this segment. So Aurea, welcome. I'm so honored to be doing this with you.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to see all your students' games. I'm like very interested in the ones that I've seen their trailers so far.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, I love that you're wearing this cool AR mask. Did you make that yourself?
This one? Oh no, I didn't. I just used this one from the app. I should have worn one of the ones my students made, but I like.
Oh,
this.
okay. Well, it's
like a butterfly.
It's cool. You know, that's how we express ourselves now in these lockdown times. So you know. So it's so cool to be doing this with you, Aurea, because your work at Tale of Tales for years and years now. You've been going for what, like 17 years? And it's all been so impactful to just everything that's going on in games. And I think that, you know, one of the things that I am very aware of is just how, you know, you've had landmark experiences like The Path, The Endless Forest, The Graveyard, you know, and I feel like, you know, both implicitly and explicitly, it's really sort of changed a lot of the conversation around games and sort of some of the things that happen within games. I know that, you know, to the explicit point, I know that Richard the Martian, you know, who was the designer of Uncharted, has spoken about how The Graveyard was very much direct inspiration for some of the segments in Uncharted. So, you know, I think that it's just super cool to have you here, is all I'm saying. So I know that you've been interested the last few years as well in, you know, other things like photogrammetry or teaching. What else are you up to these days, Aurea?
Oh gosh, well, we just moved to Rome, so we're sort of got here and then lockdown happened. And so now lockdown is off and we're just getting to know our new city now. And yeah, doing the online professor thing is also a bit of a challenge, but yeah, I think we're all going through it right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is also the thing. Like, you know, Frank said this earlier, but I just absolutely commend all of these students and everyone who's been kind of doing work in these times, because it's so hard. And yet we've seen so many amazing things come out of student work. So, so without further ado, let's go to the games on that note. So first up, joining us here on the stage is going to be Vera Lamani. So she's going to be presenting her project, Mappa Mia. So please stick around with us while we bring Vera on the stream. Hey Vera, welcome to the stream. Good to see you.
Hi Vera.
Hey Vera, I think you might be muted.
Oh yeah, I was waiting for
you.
There we go. What's up?
So Vera, tell us a little bit about Mappa Mia, and then we'll take a look at the trailer.
Yeah, so Mappa Mia is it's kind of like The Godfather meets Johnny Bravo meets Viscera Cleanup Detail in terms of my inspirations. It's inspired by the kind of media that I consumed growing up with, like, watching TV with my dad, and just who I am as a human being.
There is no better thing to make games about. So let's take a look at your trailer and then we can chat some more.
Sure.
Amazing. Okay, Vera. So I love
Vera,
that
are you
trailer, by the
Italian?
way.
Huh?
Are
Oh
you
no, I'm Albanian, so it's like the wannabe Italians, but I'm from Brooklyn.
All right.
I love that this is such a New York game, right? Like, this is so clearly based on your inspirations. You said you're from Brooklyn. Like, yeah, talk to us a little bit about those inspirations, because one of the things that I love about this is that it's so clearly it's so well written, it's so humorous, and it's clearly by someone who's a huge connoisseur of mobster movies, right? So tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'm sure you're aware that the fact that I'm from Brooklyn is like my one personality trait. But I also, grew up, my dad grew up in Brooklyn in the 70s and the 80s. And as he was growing up, he loved The Godfather because, that was his life. We very much come from the forget about it part of Brooklyn. So, when I was born and throughout my entire life, I've just had like a constant rotation of like The Goodfellas, The Godfather, like A Bronx Tale all the time on the family TV. That said, I also grew up watching a lot of sitcoms and Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera cartoons with my dad. So those are really just the different areas of inspiration that kind of led me down this path. And at GDC last year, I went to a talk by Grace Bruxner about like genre subversion for comedy games. And I kind of just immediately had the idea of subverting the crime, like mafia movies that I watched growing up as a kid and making that into a game. And I thought it'd be really funny if instead of focusing on like the made guys, like the Michael Corleone of this mafia story, you focus on some squeamish waiter at the Italian restaurant that's a front for the mob. So that was
I love that conceit as well, right? Because one of the things you do really well in this game is kind of this amazing onboarding into kind of who the player character is, and also great onboarding in terms of gameplay. So, can you tell us a bit more about that? So the conceit is, right, that this guy, the player character, is kind of just afraid of blood, right? So what was that like, sort of creating that narrative and trying to explain it to the player, and also talk us through some of the mechanics?
Yeah, so it was actually interesting. So initially, the main mechanic was motion control. So I was using Nintendo Joy-Cons in order to kind of map real world motions to items in game. For example, when you pick up a mop in the game, I had it so that the player had to like rotate the Joy-Cons in sync and rotate them in the direction that they wanted to mop up the blood. But with the current global pandemic, that wasn't viable anymore. So in the past like month and a half, I had to completely scrap all of my motion controls and remap all of my inputs to be more keyboard and mouse friendly for remote play sessions. But it was really just about, I wanted the player to kind of not be sure what to do with their hands and kind of like try and figure it out, because that's how I feel whenever I have to do something that makes me squeamish or uncomfortable. I kind of just lose all sense of tangibility. So I wanted to try and capture that with my mechanic.
Well, it's really unfortunate we have such a short amount of time. I was going to ask you more about the art style of the game and like what inspired
Looney Tunes and Johnny Bravo.
That is an amazing list of inspirations. Can you tell us, and as well on the art style, because one of the things that's really cool, right, is the sort of 2D juxtaposed with the sort of, like the cartoony 2D juxtaposed with the backgrounds. Can you just very quickly tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I was inspired by the painted backgrounds of Golden Age cartoons, which were these beautiful, like watercolor illustrations, versus the 2D like cell animation cells that were like erased and then repainted for every frame of animation. So I wanted to have 2D character sprites that were less detailed than a 3D overworld, and all of my dialogue cutscene backgrounds were kind of rendered out in Blender to be of a higher quality than the character animations, just to capture that kind of juxtaposition.
Amazing. And lastly, Vera, where can we follow your work? Where can we find you on the socials, etc.?
Yeah, so I tweet a lot about my game design process. You can find me over at Lamani Snicket. And hopefully get my website up and running again shortly, and any other, let's see. Oh, there's also my itch page, which is also just Lamani Snicket.
Yeah.
But anything can be
Amazing.
found on my Twitter.
Thank you so much, Vera, and congrats
thank
on
you.
graduating.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move along to the next project, again with a super interesting art style. So please stick with us while we bring Julia Del Mato to the stage to talk about her project, Eclectic Guests.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome now to the stream, Julia Del Mato. Hey, Julia.
Hi.
So Julia, tell us a little bit about your game Eclectic Guests, just to set us up, and then we can take a look at the trailer.
So it's an experimental narrative puzzle game about exploring a surreal hotel made from collage art.
Amazing. Let's take a look at it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this just looks so good.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the Coil soundtrack.
Thank you.
No, I really, that kind of got me because I love that song. But also, I was really loving your collage style. Can you tell me why you chose to make things that way, make the artwork that way?
So I've always been really passionate about collage art, and through my time in the Game Center, I haven't had an opportunity to make a game really just with like anything that I want to do. So I figured it was an opportunity to kind of see how I can make collage work in a video game.
Nice. So one of the things that I love about this is that, you know, I found that as I was playing this and going through, I was sort of like trying to figure out like, you know, the sort of meaning behind it, right? And like whether there is an explicit narrative, is this about doing my own meaning making and what I bring to it? So tell me a little bit more about that aspect of it.
So I was really inspired by the games Yume Nikki and Kids and how they have this really like freeform narrative. You kind of play it and everybody can have their own experience and take their own meaning from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in making it, I really went through this process of making these paper cutouts and then finding different ways that I can like connect them to kind of suggest meanings while still letting people kind of like figure out for themselves what it means. And I kind of got to this point where I wanted to really explore how paper cutouts and bits of collages from magazines are like this juxtaposition of like different things fitting together. And then my game is about exploring a hotel, so how people who are like staying in a hotel are kind of also in this way like put next to each other, and how there's this kind of like weird meaning of like things next to each other.
Right, yeah, that's so great because you've got that like hallway sequence, right, which is so great. And yeah, I can 100% see how that theme, you know, brings together this idea of like bits of life in like different pockets.
I don't know if you were influenced at all or played a lot of these like old CD-ROM games, but that was kind of the vibe I was getting from it. Was more like that experience of, it's not even about point and click. It's more just that you're trying to figure out how something works. That you're confronted with, like how you interact with it. And it becomes something that's like more fun than just simply pixel hunting. It's like you expect something to work when you touch it, and it does. And I kind of appreciated that in the demo that I played. Yeah.
So actually so on that note, like tell us a little bit about this sort of iterative process with this, Julia. Like how much playtesting did you do of this game, and how did that sort of inform the end product?
So the process was really kind of difficult. I kind of started with the art, and then through playtesting, I kind of struggled to find things that kind of made sense and did have a meaning. So after I kind of made all these puzzles that I liked, and then threw out a lot of puzzles that didn't really make sense, then I kind of connected it with the hotel narrative. And then I found that this kind of made sense. And I think I'm definitely going to keep working on this in the future. And I'm excited to add like a lot more different kinds of characters and puzzles. And I think that like the characters are really what kind of like inspired me from the game. That was my favorite part of making it, was just finding these different quirky characters and then thinking about like going through like their surreal kind of like puzzles, like what would they be thinking about and what kind of puzzles should that character have.
Right. Well, so on that note, where can we follow your work? Where can we find out more?
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at Julia Delmato.
Amazing. Well,
oh yeah.
Did you have an itch as well that you want to plug?
Yeah, it's also on my itch. There's the demo. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much, Julia.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. It's really nice. I really like it.
All right. Okay, so next up, we're going to bring in Claire Hayden to introduce her game, Cookie Crumbles. So stick around while we bring Claire in. All right, and now we have Claire Hayden with us on the stream. Hi, Claire.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. So firstly, congrats on graduating. And secondly, so tell us about your project, Cookie Crumbles, before we go and see a trailer.
Yeah, so Cookie Crumbles is a voxel-based first-person shooter where instead of trying to kill your opponents by doing damage, you try and knock them off the stage.
Nice. Okay, let's see what that means. Let's go take a look at the trailer.
Okay.
Oh
So
my
that
gosh, that looks
first-person
amazing.
shooter multi-screen, like dual screen thing going on there, like.
Yeah. It's a split screen for now. I'm hoping over the summer I can work on this some more and maybe get a network version up and running.
Okay.
I love this so much because knowing you, Claire, like this is exactly the game I expected you to make for Capstone, and it's perfect. I love it. Like it's such a great realization. So tell us a little bit more about sort of, what inspired you to make it.
Well, this is actually an idea I've had floating around in my head for a long while. I think actually the first bit I thought of in your class, Mitu, in freshman year, actually. In intro to game development, I was trying to think through, okay, what can I do? And I thought about doing a first-person shooter based around knockback, but I couldn't really get it to work in my head because the issue was level design. Like, if it's too open, then I don't think it works. You can just knock people off from anywhere. If it's too closed like most shooters, then I also don't think it works because it's just hard to kill people. But then I had a voxel phase in my game dev career, and that's been a ton of fun. And that allows for destructible environments, which suddenly solves that problem single-handedly.
So what is so great about this is that, as you're kind of speaking to, it is this amazing blend of like technical innovation meeting these game design challenges, right? So, what was the sort of process of like iterating on this? And what did you put a lot of your sort of focus on as you worked on this?
Most of it was just thinking about how to make it feel good, because generally people don't like getting moved around too unexpectedly. So just trying to make sure people weren't too shaken up by that mechanic, especially given it's a first person's perspective. But generally that went pretty well as soon as I tuned the character controller a good bit.
So tell us as well about the sort of the generative process for this. And like, so I understand Ken Perlin was one of your advisors as well on this.
I've been in one of Perlin's classes for the last semester, and so that's been a lot of fun just because noise is so useful in voxels, but it hasn't been too related to this project directly.
Okay. So Ken Perlin, those of you who don't know.
Is this game in? Can I ask real quick? Like, is it playable? Is it done? Is it like?
Oh yeah, it's totally playable. It's not up anywhere yet. I should really get on that.
Okay, because I was looking for it. Okay. Yeah. Great.
Is this something that you're planning on just continuing working on, Claire?
Oh, definitely, for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's I mean, I'm so happy to hear that. And yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, I think that a game like this 100%, blends that idea of, okay, like we have the technology, what can we do to sort of merge this with game design? And, and I think you're in this really cool exploratory phase with this where you're sort of figuring out more of those questions. So yeah, amazing to have you on. Where can we follow your work, Claire?
Not too much of anywhere right now. I'm going to be updating the page on the Game Center website as I change this more.
Okay, well, I'm sure a lot of folks, it looks like the stream loves this. So yeah, definitely get on that, Claire. Yeah, put it on itch. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Claire, and congrats on graduating.
Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, so next up, we are going to have Keenan Pucci come to the stream to tell us about his game, Mentally in Action, so stick around. All right, we have Keenan Pucci with us on the stream. Hey, Keenan.
Hi, Keenan.
Hi.
So Keenan, tell us a little bit about your project, Mentally in Action.
Yeah, so Mentally Action is a VR narrative, and in this, you experience the reality of war and step into the life of a veteran haunted by his past.
So let's take a look at the trailer. Wow, that is a powerful trailer.
Thank you.
So Keenan, tell us a little bit more about the inspiration for this project.
Yeah, so I've been doing research into some of the inspirations for this project. Just the things they carried was something I read in high school by Tim O'Brien. That was kind of my first introduction to how veterans experience PTSD and some of that lifestyle. And then a huge turning point in the design process was when I reached out to a veteran and a widow of a veteran. Both were friends with my grandfather, and interviewed them, found out really so many intricacies and just the struggles they've gone through because of the long-term effects of war. And the entire content of the game is based off of those interviews and their stories.
Well, I applaud you for doing something serious in VR like this. And I take it that you're using right now controllers for the hands, yes?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you should consider maybe using the Quest or something where you can use the actual hands or something. Like, it seems like it would be nice if these hands were really mapped onto your own hands to get that real feeling of relationship with the character. But well done. I think it's very interesting.
So tell us more about that decision to use VR and what that was like.
Mm-hmm. So first off, I love the hand tracking feature, and I am playing around with that now for Mentally in Action. We just didn't quite get there for this, but it's phenomenal. But yeah, using VR, I found through playtesting with MIA, I really learned how VR is such a powerful tool for eliciting visceral reactions and emotions from players, in embodying another person's mental space in this way. I think VR is just really, a lot of people say the immersion buzzword, but it's really true. It's themselves in VR worlds. And I think that's a really powerful part of this new medium.
Right. I mean, I think a part of that is the sort of kinesthetic element, right? It's the mapping, the one-to-one with our bodies, and we are very sort of, we're people who learn. We're embodied creatures, right? We learn through doing in the world. So, it's really interesting to see using VR in that way, where it's like, okay, I want to actually, make you, just make you embody this particular experience. What is the biggest thing that you learned about developing for VR throughout this process?
Yeah, actually, kind of my last answer is just really that power of embodiment. But something I learned specifically with Mentally in Action was that this isn't my story. I'm not a veteran. I haven't been in combat, but yet through the majority of this process for me was research and investigation. And I learned that telling somebody else's story is really valuable, and that you can still make art even if it's not your story. And I think VR was a good way to just really, I hope the player learns as much from the story as I did through these interviews. So
I think that, sometimes, we can think of game design itself as like this reflective tool, right? Like, in order to design an experience, like, we learn about it, we internalize it, we figure out sort of how to get our heads around it. So, just the process itself being building this game being something that was very instrumental for you, I think is very appropriate. Is this sort of a track you're going to be continuing down, Keenan? What does the future hold for you?
Yeah, so I'm currently a VR and AR developer at Parallax, and I'm hoping to tell more stories like Mentally in Action. I think this is the future, hopefully, and I'm really looking forward to where this industry goes. But yeah, you can find my development KeenanPucciDesign.com, and then search Mentally in Action on the Game Center page or itch. It's all there, and I would love for you to play it.
Cool. Perfect. Thanks, Keenan.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, so we are going to move on to the next game. Aurea, how are you doing? Are you sticking around with us?
I'll stick around.
You're going to stick around with us? Yes, I love having you. Love having you here. So this is great.
Okay.
So, next up, we're going to introduce to the stage Team Imperium. So Teague Stover, Hannah Wang, and Alex Liu. So stick around for them. All right, hey, welcome back. So hi to Teague, Alex, and Hannah. How are you all doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Congrats on graduating. It's an exciting day. So tell us a little bit about your game, Imperium, and just set us up with it, and then we can take a look at the trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. So our game is a mystery action platformer that draws inspiration from Metroidvanias, detective games, and Chinese mythology. So in the world of Imperium, this great engineer, Yu, builds these massive islands that roam the seas and protect everyone from the floodwaters. And then when he disappears, all of the waters just stop moving and go still. So you play 30 years later as a guardian of one of the zodiac houses, partaking in this traditional festival to try and create a sense of tenuous normalcy amid a sea of fear and distrust. So yeah, here's the trailer.
Great. All right, let's take a look. All right. Thanks for showing us that amazing trailer. So tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind the game. Why this project?
Yeah, so we most of us are huge fans of like Hollow Knight. We recently played Disco Elysium before starting this game, and we just sort of wanted to merge the detective genre with the Metroidvania genre because both are sort of based around this idea of locks and keys. So that was our main inspiration for it, and it definitely didn't start with a Chinese flair. But once we sort of dipped our toe into that, we just went whole hog towards that as well because we loved it so much.
And what was kind of that biggest challenge then? Because these are two very different genres, right? Which you don't usually see blended. Like, what was the biggest challenge when it came to that?
Right. So initially, when we set out to develop this project, we wanted to basically have a more engaging narrative, but have that implemented into a Metroidvania style game. And that became easily the biggest design challenge because we were trying to craft a way for this interactivity that allows for almost like a branching narrative, but without having that be sort of exploding into this really daunting task of dialogue navigation. So our way of handling that was instead of doing like specific standard choices, every interaction with a character would sort of be centered around having different kinds of options for interaction. So being able to like observe them to get straight information that's provided to you in very like blatant descriptions, or being able to like eventually like bribe someone or like intimidate them or, you know, try to persuade them to do things. So unlocking these different ways of interacting with characters that you kind of get through over time. And our goal for the entire project was basically to set up this strong foundation that we could use to iterate and continue building off of. So, yeah.
And then very quickly as well, can you tell us a little bit about the choice of the art style, Hannah?
All right. So as Teek said, we didn't start with the Chinese influence just yet. Originally we wanted these really tall buildings to make the platforming interesting. I don't know. We really loved the idea of tall buildings, so we went for steampunk. But later on, we decided we really fell in love with the Chinese aesthetic. But we didn't want to do something like what The Legend of Korra did. That we wanted something older. And it was difficult trying to combine the really maximalist sense of steampunk with the very traditional, simplistic Chinese designs. But we managed somehow. We lean more towards the Chinese side than the steampunk, but
great. Well, thank you so much to all three of you for joining us. Where can we follow your work?
Twitter, we just made one, which is ndumpling games, the nerdy dumpling. So yeah, follow us on Twitter.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next project. So we're going to have coming to the stage Uti Azule and also the return of the very prolific Julia Delmato. So stick around for that. All right, so firstly, welcome back to the stream, Julia, and you're also joined by Uti. Hey guys.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, so tell us a little bit about your project Sword Swallower.
So Sword Swallower is an experimental platform. It's a really big sword. And you run around and you can throw it into the walls, or you can pull it yourself to the sword. And basically, around this mechanic, large labyrinthine, dark fantasy worlds to explore. That's like a Metroidvania.
All right, so let's take a look at the trailer. All right, that just looks so good. The thing I love about this trailer so much is just that, like, the game feel jumps out, right? So tell us a little bit more about like the process behind working on this, and what inspired you.
Well, the game was originally made in Action Game Studio, the class, which is taught by Gabe Cazillo, who made Ape Out. And he was absolutely a huge help in the feel, especially, which you mentioned. All of the blood and the hitting the walls and basically all of the juice, like, we learned from him originally, and it was a long, like, iterative process, especially getting like the blood to splatter on the walls and everything. So specifically in regards to the feel, that was a huge help. But other than that, basically, I coded the game and I designed the game and I did the music and Julia did the arts. And basically I did it for my capstone project and I got Julia on a month ago. So all of the art that's in the game right now was done in a month, which is, I mean, like,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. While you're also making
on this mechanic of the sword, how did you come up with that? What was your process? That was just something that came to you, or you like?
Originally, it was actually a tale. So basically, it didn't start like as a magic thing. Basically, it was you were playing as like a monster who would sort of like repel around. But it became weird because the idea was that you sort of like, you kind of like project out this this weapon that gets stuck somewhere. But because I also wanted the player to be able to move anywhere they wanted and not be like attached to the length of the tail. So it became very strange feeling to have like a tail attached somewhere that had like no real length. You wouldn't like tug on it, or like it wouldn't dangle when you got close. So eventually it made more sense for the mechanic to be like its own object that wasn't attached to you at all. So that was a really interesting lesson for me, like learning how the actual interaction of the game like requires a different visual communication for it to work. Was really important to the game, and luckily that happened really early on and it didn't like bog us down at all making it.
So in terms of sort of the theming and sort of, you know, so when Julia, you came on, how much did the sort of theming of the game change, if at all?
So yeah, when I came on the project, I think we really wanted to reimagine like what the whole world was going to look like. So we started looking at all these different references of like horror art, and like we're really inspired by the movie Angel's Egg. We love Goya, just anything like dark and creepy. So when I came onto the game, I really just wanted to make all these like weird, scary monsters and add all kinds of things like that. So that was something I really wanted to add.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, nice Goya shout out. I think that's, yeah, I 100% see that. So you guys have a really exciting announcement about this game, right?
Yes. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So we're gonna do incubator over the summer, and we're gonna keep working on it.
Yeah, we are like, we still can't like believe at all that we got accepted into incubator. It's like, we're absolutely thrilled to work on it full time. We're both super passionate about the game, and we really can't wait.
So you're going to be, so you're going to be in the NYU Game Center Summer Incubator program. So what do you see as the sort of trajectory for this game going forward while you're in the incubator and also beyond?
For development wise, we are basically actually not going to like really touch what we have right now. We think instead we're just going to like move forward with the plans that we've already made and the levels and features we've already started playtesting, and pretty much just go like ape on that and flesh out everything that way. For the actual like the release cycle, basically what we want is to go through incubator, to work on the game for 3 months full time, and at the end come out with like a really like polished like hour-long vertical slice, and then find a publisher who believes in the game as much as we do. And hopefully, when that happens, then we will be able to continue working full time and release the game next year, basically.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And Claire, are you still going to work on eclectic guests as well?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
If I can make time for it. I don't know.
I mean, you seem to. We need to all learn from you about time management, Julia. At least I know I need to. So yeah. No, this game just looks so good, and I know that Uti, you've been working on it for a while, and it's just in terms of the sort of iterative process and the ways that you came up with the way that you iterated on level design. Can you speak to us about that aspect specifically? Like, what was your sort of process for that iteration? Did you just tell us a little bit about that?
I definitely so most Metroidvania games, the idea is that you sort of you have a bunch of different areas that are all non-linear, and you sort of return to old areas, and there's this constant element of backtracking. But basically, the way that we want to approach level design in this game, and we are approaching it, is have each individual level be non-linear, and then have options to what areas you can go to. But you don't have to backtrack to old areas as much. So each level still feels like a maze, and you're constantly exploring, but there's not so much returning to old places. And the idea is that it's built around very long segments of extended platforming and combat, so that it constantly stretches you and makes you really have to master the mechanics, basically.
Great. Well, congrats again on graduating and getting into the incubator. Where can we follow this work?
The demo is up right now on itch.io, on my itch.io, Sword Swallower. We have a Twitter right now, SWSW_game, and we have our own individual Twitters as well. So please follow if you want updates.
Looks like the chat is going crazy for this game, so definitely you're going to get a lot of fans. Thanks for joining us, Uti and Julia.
Thanks you
so much. Have a good one.
So next up, we're going to have the game Soothing Seeds being presented by Michael Maudler-Green. Come on through, Michael. All right. Welcome to the stream, Michael. Really, really glad to have you with us. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, congrats on graduating first.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Soothing Seeds.
Right. So Soothing Seeds is a mobile game where you grow your own garden to help distract you from all the stress and anxieties that might be going on in your life.
That seems super relevant right now. So let's take a look at the trailer. All right. So yeah, I mean, just definitely relating hard to the concept of this right now. Yeah,
so
definitely.
Is it generative? Do the plants do you get different plants throughout the game, and it grows in a different way or something?
So right now it's more there's the same design for each plant, but the flowers will be two randomly generated colors. Mm-hmm. So you'll get kind of different colors every time you play.
It seemed to also have sort of a journaling aspect to it, or
yeah. So basically, in addition to just the simple motions of swiping, which is kind of what the game is all centered around, there's a journaling feature. Every time you grow the plant, one of your plants to a flower, you'll unlock a new journaling prompt. And there's 27 possible options, and each time you go through the game, you'll have access to 13 of them. And you can actually save your response and view it later from the main menu.
So, I mean, this is such a great concept, and I think that it's very obviously of the moment for right now, but also, there's a big, one of the most popular App Store categories, right, is the idea of like the self-care app, and the idea, whether it's like, Happy Not Perfect, or like Calm, or Shine, like there's a million of them. So, how much does that, was that partially what kind of inspired this? Like, what direction did you come at this from?
So I guess kind of my goal with my games are to make games to treat mental illness. It's kind of what I've learned from my time at NYU, and it's where I want to go. So I knew going to Capstone that I wanted to make something that would kind of test that out, to make something that could potentially help people. And anxiety is not like a specific condition that has to be like diagnosed. It's something that everyone has. So, and everyone gets stressed like all the time. So I figured I'd make something that could kind of help with that.
Yeah, and it's something you could pick up at any point in the day and kind of like
exactly.
And yeah, that's important. I think that's very.
Are you sort of, I assume you're inspired as well, partially by the work that like Brie Code is doing with like #selfcare, and there's like,
for sure.
I feel like there's a real groundswell of games of this type. So I just really commend you for doing this work. What's next for you, Michael?
So the next step is I'll be coming back to NYU for a master's at Gallatin for games as a medium for mental health treatment, and the next step after that is hopefully to get a PhD in clinical psychology, and then practice and actually make games that can be used to treat mental illness.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So where can we follow you, Michael?
So for this, there's not really too many places as of right now, but you can follow this work on the Game Center page, as well as there's a web version right now out on itch. And as soon as the game goes up on the Google Play and App Stores, I will be posting the links on the Game Center page.
Great. Well, looking forward to seeing where this direction takes you, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next and last project of this segment. So we're going to welcome to the stream Charlie Lee to show off his project, Gambate, Love Prince in Space. All right, welcome to the stream, Charlie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you. Well, congrats on graduating.
Thank you so much.
You're looking very dapper there as well, if I might say.
NYU pilot.
Okay, so Charlie, tell us a little bit about your game.
So Gambate Love Prince is a gay visual novel slice of life mixed with murder mystery sci-fi, and you play as a protagonist who goes around dating a bunch of like 4 other guys that you meet, and there's a mini game, and then you guys go to space. It's really wild.
All right, so let's take a look at the trailer.
back.
All right. Sorry, we had some minor technical hiccups. So we're still with you for a second, Charlie. So can you tell us a little bit more about what inspired this game?
Yeah, so I've been really into visual novels. I think the first one I ever played was called Dream Daddy. And what inspired me to make this was that I really wanted to combine both my two favorite genres, anything that's gay and then sci-fi. So it's kind of just like something that I could kind of bring the player from myself. So it's more of like a world that I get to create and then kind of share that experience with everyone who's playing.
So I'm curious about, so, you know, because you're, you know, reflecting, you know, because this is something that is like deeply personal and you're reflecting a part of your own experience, when it comes to writing, how much kind of iteration did you have to do to sort of ensure that that sort of characterization, et cetera, is getting across? Like, and what was your process for that?
Yeah, there was a lot actually that was done with a lot of the characters' personalities, especially with the Hiroshi, Char, Zach, and Kanata, just because they were kind of brought in as like different anime trope characters that you see in different anime. And that kind of inspired like, oh, Kanata's the jock, Zach is the smart but cold one. Shars is kind of like the playboy who's like really pretty. And then you have Hiroshi, who's kind of like the best friend and neighbor. And so that's kind of just all inspired by different anime, video games, just media that I've watched.
Yeah.
So what is, oh, sorry, go ahead, Aurea.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering, is it meant to be satirical at all, or is it or funny, or is it meant to be? I mean, is it really on genre, like, or are you trying to subvert that somehow?
It's supposed to kind of poke fun on like both visual novels and classic anime tropes that you see everywhere.
Because you pointed as well, I think, before to the sort of subversion of something like Doki Doki Literature Club, right? So, you know, in designing this, like how much was that sort of a consideration, and what did you sort of, what's one of the things that you learned about developing visual novels through this process?
Well, I realized that visual novels are a great way to storytell, especially whether if it's like personal or something that you just want to bring to life from maybe a creative writing piece. And I learned that visual novels are a great way to also add some interactivity with the player with that. So in my case, I ended up adding a rhythm minigame because I really love playing rhythm mobile games like Ensemble Stars, Bandori, and I kind of just, that kind of inspired my two growing themes of both like anime tropes and like sci-fi.
Well, where can we follow your work on this, Charlie, or any other work that you're doing?
Yeah, I have this both posted on the NYU Game Center page and my itch.io, so that would be hebitsukaimetal.itch.io. And you can also see a bunch of previously made games I've made throughout my career at NYU.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Charlie.
Thank you.
And congrats on graduating.
Thank you so much.
That's it for this segment. Thank you for sticking with us as we took a look at some more amazing graduating BFA games. Thank you so much, Aurea, for joining us. We are so lucky to have you here and to hear your you know, to hear your perspective and have you join us. So thank you. So we're going to sign off. We're going to go to the next segment hosted by Eric Zimmerman plus special guests. So that's it from us. Keep watching. We've got more games coming up.
Peace.
time for everyone, and I hope. Congratulations to the NYU Game Center graduating class of 2020. I hope you all feel so proud of yourselves. What an accomplishment. I know it's been a really weird time for everyone, and I hope you're taking a minute today to really reflect on just how much work you put in and how much you deserve this. I'm really excited to see all the games that you have in this show, and I'm really even more excited to see you go out into this industry, build your careers, and make a difference, because so much of this industry relies on the people in the industry to care, to create games that mean something to them, that mean something to the world, and make a huge impact. So best of luck to you all. And hey, if you're familiar with Feminist Frequency, we are having our 11th birthday. I can't believe we've been around this long. I don't even know if you know who we are at this point. We've been doing this forever. But yeah, we're having a big birthday celebration. So if you're interested, you can swing by at twitch.tv/femfreak from 5 p.m. Pacific time until midnight. We're going to have a bunch of giveaways and guests and games. And I'd love to see you all there. And I'd love you to join our Feminist Frequency family. So again, big congrats. Please, please take this day to celebrate all that you've done. Bye.
Graduation projects that we can't wait to share with you. Thank you so much for that message from Anita Sarkeesian, founder of Feminist Frequency, and incredibly inspiring and important game industry figure. So many awesome guests and friends are joining us today. We have a couple coming with us during this hour, but before I invite our first guest, I just want to give a special shout out to the NYU Game Center Student Showcase Committee. So everything that you're seeing right now, all of the artwork that is surrounding me, all of this video, all of the trailers that were put together, that is a product of a huge amount of collaboration by students on the show committee, and also by our incredible faculty and staff. So a lot of our staff, people like Robert Yang, Jessica Lamb, Matt Bach, Naomi Clark, and so many others put in a huge amount of work to make this possible. But we are excited to be sharing with you the incredibly amazing games that our students produced this year. And to help me appreciate these games, let me bring on my first guest for the next 20, 25 minutes or so. Josh DeBonis is going to be joining us. Come on in, Josh. A lot of you may know Josh from his work. Josh is an indie game developer. He is the founder of Bumble Bear, the studio most known for recently creating Killer Queen, the 5 versus 5 arcade cabinet. And I think actually, Josh, you are finishing a Kickstarter campaign today, or maybe tomorrow, as chance may have it. Come on in, Josh. Let's take a look at these games. I think Josh is just going to be joining us.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Eric. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too, Josh. We've got a handful of really awesome games. I think that some of them fall definitely within your expertise of unusual experimental action games, but also we've got a tabletop game coming up this hour too.
Great, I can't wait to play them. Or see them, I guess. And play them when I can.
Yeah, exactly. We all can't wait to get our hands on these games. The first game that we're going to look at is Room by Sam Liu. Room is just a trailer that we're going to be looking at. So let's take a look. Wow. That is such a delightful little trailer. Room is a action 1v1 game inspired by other action games like Bari Bari Ball or Video Ball, but obviously harkening back to games like Pong as well. Josh, I don't know if you noticed, but the twist to Room is that every time a goal is scored by getting the ball into another room, it actually brings both players into a new level.
Yeah, that wasn't obvious to me. I love it. That's really great. That's a
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of combining a procedurally generated space or a non-linearly navigated space with this idea of a sports game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love it. That's great. I'd love to see this as an arcade game. I mean, I'm always thinking about arcades. It has all of the hallmarks that make it work well. Like it's easy to spectate. The controls, it seems like the controls are simple. I think it's probably like one button to jump, one button to hit the ball. That's my guess. And the fact that it's like a static screen that shifts works really well in that environment. I think it would be fun to play that way, I guess this is probably local multiplayer.
Yes,
right?
It is. It's for two people playing in a single room. I think it's also got a great sense of style too, as you can tell from the black and white graphics. A very sort of interesting, understated choice, I think, by Sam. One other thing that I'll say is that, I think what makes this, for me, such an interesting 21st century sport is that, you're not just having to think about what your opponent is doing and the kind of hand-eye coordination, but because the game arena itself is constantly changing, the rules of the game are also something that you're having to navigate and think about as well. And it doesn't just require, let's say, old-fashioned video game skills, but it also requires a kind of systems thinking and problem solving. And the combination of that, I think, is so exciting.
Yeah, I noticed that the color of the ball toggles between white and black. Does that have a significance?
I think that has to do with which player is in control of the ball at any given time. Given the limitations of our social distancing semester, I haven't had a lot of time to put my hands on this one, but I can't wait for it. Anyway, thank you, Sam, and thank you for your awesome game. Room, congratulations on graduating.
Yeah, it looks great. Congrats.
We're going to bring in Allison Wise, and she's going to be talking about her game Caper. I think Allison is just about to join us. Come on in, Allison. Allison, welcome to the NYU Game Center showcase stream.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, Allison.
Hey, Josh.
We are here to talk about your game Caper. Can you just give us a quick 10-second elevator pitch? What's Caper all about?
Yeah, for sure. Caper is a 2D art stealth platformer where you play as a magical living cape. You jump and float and move around like cloth, and you, instead of fighting, hide or manipulate your environment to deal with enemies and obstacles.
Awesome. Let's take a look at the trailer. Awesome. So, Allison, you want to talk a little bit about the inspiration for Caper?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I saw the Doctor Strange movie, and of all the parts of it, my favorite was the 3 clips with the cape. And I just woke up and was like, I have to make a game about a cape. So I set forward back in fall or spring of last year to start prototyping it, and came across Celeste's developer code this past summer and decided that I wanted to make it a super tight platformer with a cute art style where you have a cape with just as much personality.
Cool. I think one of the interesting things about this, and I do have to say that you do have a demo online at itch.io, so people can go and check out this game, is that it really feels like a full-featured game. You have these amazing animations for the main character. It's very well tutorialized, and there's a whole bunch of gameplay mechanics that you've managed to squeeze in there. I feel like in making this, it's almost like you went through the full process of kind of having to educate yourself about all of those aspects of the game, right? I mean, this is a solo project. That's how amazing is that?
It was awesome. Honestly, I see all the stuff I have in it, and I'm like, I could just do so much stuff. And I'm excited to keep working on it, but to see how much I've gotten in there, there's 4 different portions, and it goes on for 20 rooms, and then there's a whole boss. It's so cool that I managed to get all of this in there, and it took the whole year, but it went so well along the way. Not that it didn't have setbacks. Oh my gosh, there was so much that got cut. It was amazing.
Yeah, well,
the whole end. The whole end's different now.
That's a good sign though that you were able to cut a lot of things, right? And that the game is still very big. I had a chance to play it yesterday, and I really liked it. And one thing I particularly that stood out to me was how the zoom level changes from room to room. It really gives it a different feel in each room. I thought that was really cool and unique to the game.
Thank you so
and the
much.
Feel of the cape. You really do feel like a cape when you're playing it. The way that you float and hanging on things. I think
it's so clever. You start off on a coat rack hanging there, and then you sort of push a button and you're off the coat rack and you're flying. Later on, you realize that whenever there's a coat rack, you can hang yourself, and that's your sort of invisibility camouflage when no enemy is going to notice you. So there's so many wonderful little clever touches like that in this game.
Thank you so much. Those were the things I worked so much on. So I'm really glad you noticed those. It's awesome.
Yeah, and there's also just there's a sense of humor to this game, and you can tell when you play something that's so well designed and you're in such good hands of the designer and developer in this case. Allison, any final thoughts you want to share with Caper before we move on?
Yeah, it's been such a cool project to work on and to do so many different parts of it, and I really am looking forward to continuing it. So I've set up a Patreon for it that I think there's a link in the chat, and I'm super excited to keep up with it because there's a whole world I envision for this cape.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Allison.
That's great. Congrats, Allison.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next is Eleanor Yang's Cavalier. Hi, we are here with Eleanor Yang, graduating NYU Game Center BFA student, and her game Cavalier. Eleanor, give us a few words about your project.
Sure. So Cavalier is a game about a swordsman walking through this strange space consists of two worlds, a world above and a world below. So the player is going to basically conquer all his opponents throughout this journey. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's take a look at the trailer. And here we are. It is May 2020, and Cavalier is here. Josh, did you get a chance to play this one?
No, I haven't been able to play this, but it is stunning, and the animation is incredible. And I mean, I'm excited to play it. I love just looking at it.
I have to tell you that the animation that that's in the game isn't even fully showcased in the trailer. I think, first of all, it's a beautifully cut trailer, Eleanor, but you have these incredibly look like rotoscoped animations. You must have really spent so much care on getting the movement. It's a really beautiful, elegant kind of martial arts movements. Yeah, how did you generate the animations for the game?
So I myself is a 3D artist. So I spent a lot of time in the past 4 years doing 3D related animations and modeling stuff. Because I'm working solo in this game, I started up with Mixamo, which is like a huge help for me. And but they don't have a lot of like movements related to martial arts. They are more like generic game movement. So I bring everything into Maya and edit every joint like by myself. So that's a huge challenge for me, but I have plenty of time during this quarantine time, so that's good.
Yeah, wow, it really shows. I mean, what ends up as a little tiny figure on the screen, you can feel the kind of care that you've taken with every frame of those animations. And also I have to say that the gameplay is quite special too. Eleanor, I know that this is inspired by fighting games like Bushido Blade, where you don't have a health bar, you're not managing statistics, It's really like an old black and white samurai film where there's one stroke and the enemy falls away. And I think beyond that, it almost becomes metaphysical, that there's such an elegant quality to the game. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us more about that.
I'm glad that you get it. Because like for me, I kind of observe this trend of action game that everything is going towards a maximalism kind of feeling. Like game designers just keep adding more stuff, more mechanics, more item, more splash, more particles on the screen. And for me as an action game player, I feel like my attention is more, focused on the enemies instead of the player himself. Like player for a lot of action games, for me, it's just like a tool. I'm using it, but I'm not really focusing on it. So in this game, like inspired by Bushido Blade, as you said, I want the player to more focus on himself, herself as a player, as a presence in the game world. And so that every strike counts in this game, because you can get killed by only one strike. You can kill an enemy with one strike. So you have to really think about every movement. Also, another mechanic that I didn't really show in this trailer is that when you do a jump attack from the above, you create like these splash in the lower, and when you get into that zone, time slows down. So it gives you like a negative debuff when you do like a certain attack. So yeah, so I really wanted to make like every single move counts and valuable, and you need to consider about your movement in this game. Yeah, that's my intention.
That it comes across so well. And I guess all I can say to people that are just watching the stream is that this beautiful dreamlike quality that you're seeing in the trailer really is delivered in the actual gameplay, that it really does have this, as I said, metaphysical, almost surreal quality to it, that flows so smoothly. And I think that transcends your influences of samurai film and Bushido Blade, and really becomes a unique aesthetic experience. It's just a beautiful game, Eleanor. You should be so proud of this.
Thank you.
And people can download this now? I see.
You can download it, and also you can play it online. Thankfully, the WebGL build is like running great, so you can play online.
Yes. So please go play Eleanor's game. Eleanor, congratulations on graduation, and congratulations on Cavalier.
Thank you so much. Thank you for playing.
Great job, Eleanor.
Great.
Thank you.
Coming up next is Abby Austin and her tabletop game, Box of Chocolates. Hi, we are here with Abby Austin. And Abby, we're here to talk about your game, Box of Chocolates, a tabletop game that you made as your NYU Game Center BFA capstone project. Tell us about Box of Chocolates in just a sentence or two.
Box of Chocolates is a multiplayer competitive card game inspired by the scene from I Love Lucy, in which Lucy and her friend attempt to wrap chocolates on a conveyor belt that increases in speed. And it's primarily a game about losing control.
Great. That's a great source of inspiration. And yeah, so it's so playful, it's so fun. I can see why it would make a good game.
Let's take a look at Abby's trailer for Box of Chocolates.
Great
Abby,
trailer. And I mean, it's so tough to make a trailer for a tabletop game too. And I think that you really did it. It looks fun. It conveys the basic aspects of the game without getting bogged down in all the minutia. Makes you want to play it, right?
Well, I mean, for the trailer, I have to thank my sister because she did most of the hard work. She's a film student.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was. I mean, in a situation where it was very difficult to film a trailer at all with my limited number of people.
Abby, the core gameplay of Box of Chocolates is a little bit like Sushi Go or other set collecting card games. Is that right?
Yes. I did look towards Sushi Go as an example for me.
And we're looking at a sort of a demo of the gameplay right now. Is that right?
Yes, this is a single person demo. I didn't intend for this game to be single player, but I only had one person to film with, which was myself. So this is more of how the game works in a turn over and over and over again. I also discovered through doing this that it can work kind of as a single person game.
Right.
It plays a little bit like solitaire if you do it like that.
You're basically, I think if I understand the game, you're constructing little chocolates. You're a chocolatier, and you are putting a base, then with a filling, and then a topping, and trying to construct these 3 layers out of a limited set of resources.
Yes.
I think that you know what one of the interesting things to me about Box of Chocolates is that it's a lot about systems and strategy and optimization, like a lot of tabletop strategy games, but it's also about the thing that's the very opposite of that. It's about chocolate and desire and pleasure and deliciousness. And I love the way that it brings those 2 things together.
One of the things I really wanted, like regarding that, like the chocolatey theme and how it's desirable and stuff, is someone mentioned to me that people have like preferences, and that before I added combos, people should like, the best tasting chocolate should be the ones that get the most points. But the way I incorporated that was people are allowed to create their own combos in the beginning of the game if they want to like maximize on that. Like chocolate is something people want. People should be able to create the kinds of chocolates they want.
Awesome. So you're actually allowing for player creativity and blurring the lines a little bit between players and designers in the game.
Yes, although those combos, the player-made combos, have to be agreed upon at the beginning of the game, and you can't change them. But like, actually, this is a combo. It's been a combo the whole time, because that just doesn't work.
How did you end up making a tabletop game when most of your peers were working on digital projects?
I decided to do a single semester instead of 2, and I know my skills very well. I know that I'm not a skilled programmer. And the game I'd been working on before this in preparation for Capstone, I lost because the computer died and I didn't back it up. So I already had this idea for a game based on that scene, and I figured it'd be small enough to do in this period of time.
Well, I think that tragedy was everyone's gain, because you ended up making a Box of Chocolates. There's 1,000 ways to be a game designer. And like me, I'm not a programmer either, but I still design games. So it's wonderful that you're able to put together such an impressive capstone project for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks great, Abby.
Is there anything else?
Play it soon.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
Not that I can think of. I feel like the trailer and the gameplay demo here are doing a pretty good job of explaining the game.
It looked like in the trailer you have 2 layers of box or something, or a lid or something.
Yeah, you can take, once you finish a box, you can take a new box, but there's a penalty if you don't finish it.
Okay, cool. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Well, Abby, we hope that you get to continue work on Box of Chocolates. And thank you so much for coming on to share it with us and with the stream. And congratulations on graduating.
Thank you.
Congrats, Abby.
Take care, Abby.
Bye.
So, Josh, I think that's going to be a wrap for having you join the stream. Really appreciate you being here to help us appreciate these games that our students have made.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Eric.
Take care. And any final words? You want to plug your Kickstarter that's going on right now? Well, you're not here, but I will plug it. So check out the Kickstarter by Bumble Bear live for another day or so. Sometimes that happens in this Zoom reality that we're living in. People just pop in and out. But Josh, thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy to bring on our guest for the second segment, Sarah Mala, who's a voice actress, and she is also an independent game developer and an industry advocate. You may know Sarah from games like Gone Home, where she was the voice of Katie, from the Gears series, from Anthem, After Party, and Pyre. She's just everywhere in the voice acting world. But I also know you as being such a huge part of the indie game community and your advocacy for cultural sophistication and diversity and inclusion, among many other things. And you also work as a consultant for indie developers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on voiceover, on the voiceover process. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We are.
It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, we're so lucky to have you here. I'm so happy that you can join us for another handful of games as we round out this hour of the showcase.
Sweet.
I think we're going to start with just a quick one, Noah Perloff and his trailer for Animal House.
Great.
Wow, that was Animal House. Yes, awesome trailer by Noah Perloff. Did you have any immediate impressions or thoughts on the game,
Me?
Sarah?
Yeah, I'm the only one here. Yeah, no, it was very atmospheric. It was the kind of trailer that's sort of more of a pull than a push, which I appreciate. I don't know. I think the most evocative thing about it to me is just this maw, just the sort of, I don't know, I don't want to invoke too many other cultural references, but like some sort of Little Shop of Horrors-esque maw that's just, makes me think of a lot of different things and makes me think of a sort of powerful hunger or whatever. So that one small character signifier, if you will, was really intriguing to me. I also loved the shot at the end with sort of, I don't know if you're in a vehicle or what that is, the passing with the silhouettes kind of coming into play. So yeah, I appreciate any trailer that does that sort of asks me to wonder more than it does tell me everything. So I would love to know more.
Well, I think we all would. Animal House is kind of a mysterious legend at the NYU Game Center. It's definitely an interesting collage of different game styles that you might not normally want to find, or normally think to find together, I should say. You definitely want to find them together in Animal House, but Undertale style RPG with a lot of action too, for bosses. But that's a game by Noah Perloff, and we hope to be finding out more about it as things proceed. We're going to move right on to a next set of students. So we're going to bring on Issa Dow and John Wanamaker, who are going to tell us about their game Chow. I think Issa and John are just about to join us. Hi, we are here with Issa Deo and John Wanamaker, the designers and developers of Empathy Wave. Empathy Wave is your name of your collaboration, but your game is called Chow. So can you, one of you, give us the quick elevator pitch intro to what Chow is all about?
Yeah, of course. So Chow is an adventure game about exploring a small Italian town and getting to know the parts that make up its past and present. So you're going around exploring, talking to people, and piecing together the history of the townspeople have with each other, and using that to figure out what your family history is as well.
Excellent. Let's take a look at the trailer. Okay. Awesome. So I guess there's a lot that we could say about this game. Sarah, do you want to go first?
I just want to be there. I just want to go to there. Is Luca also a given name? Because I happen to have been lucky. I've been lucky enough to go to the city. Is it also just a name that people have? Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful city. I mean, so it just makes me miss. You immediately get I just love the breeze in her clothes, and also she's serving me looks, and I just want to go. So just capturing that kind of pastoral feeling is really immediate. And I also, just off the bat, I'm such a huge fan of innovating adventure as a genre and ways of making conversations more active and less sort of a passive multiple choice thing. So anytime anyone's messing around with that, you have my full attention. I did a game that sort of was toying with similar stuff in 2013 and called Resonance. And I was like, well, let's all do this. Let's all just keep exploring this. So it's so exciting. I would love to, please tell me more about how that actually works as far as linking concepts and asking people about them.
So the narrative design for this game kind of came about inspired by Oberdin and a lot of these other kind of UI-based adventure games. And I think that's kind of a great innovation in the genre. I love adventure games. I grew up with them. And I wanted to create something that was using dialogue in a way that enhanced a player's empathy towards these characters. And I think that was a part of these games that was missing, right? You'd see them in Oberdin, you see them dead or dying, and you're like, well, I don't really know these people, right? I don't know why they're here, what they're doing, what's their motivation, right? I think that was kind of lost in these, and I think that's what we were trying to capture with this. And I think that's what we kind of ended up doing.
Part of what you're talking about, Sarah, is that, and it may not be 100% clear from just looking at the trailer, but to have a conversation with a character, you're sort of collecting ideas and people and references and objects. And there's actually a quite modular conversation system where you can create a sort of a question by combining two people or a location and something else, and then asking someone about that. So I think what's so interesting about Chow is that it's really sort of about culture on so many levels, right? That's sort of the way that we come to know something, the way we investigate something, the way that we talk to people about something. And I think Isa was also inspired by some of your own experience as well. Is that the case?
Yeah. I come from a very small town, a very small country in Europe called Andorra, and I use a lot of the visuals of that location and the way that people dress and interact with each other to inspire a little bit of how the townspeople actually talk to each other, and as well how everything looked. So yeah, John and I talked a lot about how it was like living in such a small place and how people are around each other, and we put that right into the game.
That's so nice. And I just want to point out, but behind the kind of more straightforward surface of this game, there's a lot of interesting complexity and sophistication in terms of the references that the game is drawing from, and even how the gameplay unfolds.
Thank you.
It's so exciting. I just want to play it.
Yes, very much so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So hopefully do you two have any plans to continue work on Chow?
Oh yes, for sure. We're going to keep working on it moving forward. We're just going to take a little break for a week after this crunch time, but once that's over, we're going to go right back into it because we're really inspired with it and we're connected to the characters in the town and stuff. So we're going to keep going.
Well, you two definitely deserve it. Sarah and I want to offer you congratulations on this beautiful project and on graduating. So we're so happy to see projects like this. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us.
And thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, Isa and John.
Thank you.
After this, we are going to have the team from After Us, The Flood joining, and we'll be talking to them in just a moment. All right, we are back and we are joined by Rachel Gang and Valentine Morin, and we're so happy to have both of you here to talk about your game, After Us, The Flood. Can one of you just give us a quick idea of what this game's all about?
Yeah, so After Us, the Flood explores the anxieties that prevent us from moving forward and how we can help both ourselves and each other. Um, we use music as a mechanic of empathy, and our goal really is to reassure players that everything's going to be all right while acknowledging the difficulties that both they and other people face.
Great. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Yeah.
At the edge of a universe humming a tune, with sparkling crystal souls aglow. A part of thee in the key of what we know to be every part without me knows only two can make it light. You'll live forever tonight.
Wow. God, so interesting the way that you two, and by the way, first of all, we should say that you're just part of the team for After Us, The Flood. You want to give a shout out to your teammates?
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Sammy and Ian. We would not have had a game without the wondrous efforts of the both of them. There are two programmers and they have done so much these past 2 semesters.
Yeah, they've been awesome. And also shout outs to our musicians. You guys have done so well.
Yeah, Luca and Lysander, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, you know,
song original? Sorry.
Huh?
Was that song original?
Oh no, that song was from Tally Hall's like spin-off band. They did a musical sort of album. But
Yeah, I was like, I love this song. Okay, just wanted to find out. It's great. Okay, continue. What were you saying, Eric? Sorry.
Well, even the curation of music for the trailer, I think, speaks to their sophisticated approach to music and audio in the game, which is kind of why it's so exciting to have you here, Sarah, to talk about it. Because I think, Valentine and Rachel, for you two, music in the narrative context of After Us, The Flood means quite a lot. I think that you two talk about how it's a sort of a wordless way that we communicate that taps into the way that we feel maybe more directly than words. Was that, and I know that there's a kind of rhythm action gameplay that carries that forward in the game. Do you two want to speak at all about that?
Absolutely. Val, do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to music, not only is it this sort of messenger of emotions that you can convey without words, you don't need to say what you're feeling when you're playing a song. You can just feel it. And you put your heart into playing music, and there comes a point where sometimes you'll be trying to learn a new song and you'll have this beginning memorize, like you are so good at this one part of the song, but when it comes to moving forward, you find yourself falling back on what you know as opposed to expanding outwards and learning new things or moving forward. And that kind of allegory of a musician stuck with their own path sort of through this song is what really inspired us going through this game.
I know that a lot of the narrative is about coming home and sort of discovering who you are, even if coming home also helps you discover new things, but also maybe helps you discover that you're stuck somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So like the theme of the game is about stagnation. It's about being stuck in a rut in your life, whether it's because of the circumstances you're in, because you're too scared to move forward for one reason or another. And so through the power of music and empathy, we want to sort of use the mechanic of our game to tell people that we understand the situation that they're in, but it's also going to be okay. It's going to be all right. We can like take each other's hand and move forward in life, and we can take that step together.
Sarah, don't you think it's amazing to hear these designers talk about their kind of narrative intentions for the game? This is like a more sophisticated conversation than you actually get in the game industry that we're having right now.
I can think of only a handful of people that I would have this kind of conversation with, and it's something that we talk about on the IGF all the time. And those are the games that we end up discussing, are people who've put that kind of thought into it, and that bears reflection in this way. I'm really interested in the metaphor of, because I think it's true in games too, as a player, you have strats that you kind of start to lean on, and you've only explored the system to a certain degree, and you're like, this works to this point, I'm going to use this and bash it against the rest of the game. So the idea of mirroring that with a musician as well, who reverts to the same licks or the same voicings over and over, I think that is really interesting and quite physical, like literally maps really well. So I don't know, I'd have to play the game to kind of hear more about how the sound, the music, or layers of the music respond. And I think it's a musical mechanic itself, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Expand as you start to explore and master different techniques for approaching situations. But I think that's a really spot on thing to explore.
Yeah, it's really kind of mind-blowing, sophisticated in terms of how your concepts relate these narrative themes to very personal psychological themes to the actual gameplay of the experience, all within this kind of beautiful, hand-drawn, kind of lovingly crafted
beautiful
universe. So does your team, you two and the others that aren't joining us on the stream at this moment, have any plans for continuing work on After Us the Flood?
We have talked about it, but I am going to grad school, so I will actually be stepping away from the project, but I'm excited to support the rest of the team in any way, shape, or form, like no matter where they take this project.
That is beautiful. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
I think that maybe we'll wrap it up here. Was there anything else that you two wanted to show or share about the game?
So in light of the recent circumstances that we're under, a lot of artist friends that I've sort of like collaborated with have been like at wit's end in terms of like the economic condition that we're under. So I decided to, in lieu of a physical showcase, doing like a promotional campaign on Twitter. So I commissioned a bunch of friends, and this is sort of like art that we're seeing that's promotional art. And we sort of wanted to sort of wrap up the community and pay it forward a little bit by having this commissioned art be a part of our game as well.
Lovely. I was thinking a lot. I was obsessed with the hearts as eyes, and how that would shift, or there would be a tension or a matching there as the character moves through different feelings, because that it gives such a powerful impression at first, but how that plays as the mood changes and their relationship changes is really interesting to me. I'm like thinking about mass work and stuff, and I'm like, what happens? Very cool.
Well, I just love it that you're thinking not only about what's inside the game, but how you can leverage all of the great creative work that you've done to build fan communities, to have bring in other collaborators to do fan art, and use that as a way to share your game with the world. So just congratulations on an amazing project. After Us the Flood.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes and good luck.
Thank you for joining us. Take care, Rachel and Valentine. All right, Sarah, that wraps it up for this segment. It went so fast.
I know. I want to sit and talk to everybody forever. I'm like, tell me about all of these things. My goodness, my heart. And it's just all of them hit this wonderful, interesting note that's grief or longing, but there's some poignancy to it that I think is just exactly where my heart and my head is at right now. I think it's just a very sweet, open-hearted place to be. And it's very exciting to me to see that kind of feeling coming from students. I don't know. I think we all need empathy games, however you define those. just
Yes.
games that traffic in it, shall we say. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sarah. And take care. Thank you for joining us.
Bye. I guess.
Bye-bye.
Someone take.
Yeah. So just to wrap up this segment, I want to give a final thank you to some of the students that really created all of the visual design for the showcase. And that's Charlie Harper, Alina Constantine, and especially BFA student Elizabeth Yuan. They're the ones that created this whole visual look, our poster, our graphics that you're seeing right now. After this break, we're going to be moving on to the MFA projects, the graduate students. And we have a couple more hours of amazing work that we're excited to share with you. More faculty hosts, more special guests, more incredible games. So please stay with us. We're going to take a few minutes break and we'll be back very soon. Thank you so much.